Hi everyone, in this video I want to showcase a little snippet about my past. Some of you might not know, but I used to be an environmental scientist for 20 years and had my own environmental company that specialized in forest restoration and revegetation projects. And this is why, as a psychic medium today, I'm still very passionate about the environment and offset money from my readings towards forest protection, revegetation and carbon offset projects around the world. In this video, I narrate some of those examples from my business life over the 20 years. Not all of it, obviously, but some of it. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did. My name is Rhys Wynn Davies, Psychic Medium. Environmental Management International Proprietary Limited founded the subsidiary business called LandTrust Rangers in 1999 and ended its operation in 2020. So for over 20 years, we specialized in incorporating the natural environment back into the built environment. We specialized in reforestation, restoration and revegetation of natural areas and covered the area along the east coast of Australia as far as Melbourne and 800 miles past north of Mount Isa on the east coast of Australia. We covered a huge area, and in doing so, we had our LandTrust Ranger vehicles to do so. This was a 2 to 3 person crew often, which would work in remote areas looking at natural area management, vegetation that wasn't native to the area, removing that, maintaining the natural environment, forest restoration and revegetation projects, carbon offset programs. We would often be maintaining these sites for a long time using these vehicles, managing weeds and pests that weren't native to the area, removing them often by hand, being very selective in what stays and goes, particularly with the idea of preserving our natural environment. This is my father. He worked for me for over 8 years, including 3 of my other brothers over time. So, which is great to work with my family in doing this also. We have an arborist division, as you can see, taking out trees that weren't native with our particular focus, but also trees in the built environment that were difficult to manage or maintain. We had an aquatic division that looked at managing aquatic weeds on natural waterways and helping remove that. And we were one of the only firms at the time to source local plants from local environments and reintroduce them back into our projects. So we're focusing on using the local gene pool when we did that. There's a great shot of me when I was younger doing vegetation management, assessing trees that should stay or go from housing estates. This is actually a pipeline project that goes for about 8 kilometers. We planted 250,000 trees on this project alone. You can see that's a shot afterwards. There's actually one of my brothers to the left there. And this is a bat colony area. So this is an area where the vegetation had to be extended to preserve a bat colony. We planted 12,000 trees here and had to maintain this over a 3-year period. You can see this is after 2 years, the trees starting to grow. And we're going in here once a month with a crew and the LandTrust Ranger vehicle to maintain this area. So we're stopping any weeds from coming up so that the native plants have a chance. This is another photo when it's just been planted out. It's 12,000 trees there, which is just incredible. And then you can see here after 2 years what it starts to look like. And this is creating a buffer so that the bats have more natural area to roost in and protect them. This is my vehicle 5 years later. So this is showing you the result after 5 years. You can't even recognize the place. And this created a wonderful habitat for the bats. We worked on drainage, and so this is a drain prior here. And we're looking at it now with a product called Bitumen. This is a natural product that breaks down, but it stops erosion. And then this is planted out. Here we are with some more mitigation for off-road drainage, stopping road water from going straight into the environment. We're using a process here with natural plants that are native to that region that help filter the sediment and any pollutants coming in. This is a great job down in the Redlands area. This is a before shot creating a lagoon again for a landscape environment that was particularly marshland area. There's 15,000 plants alone just planted in here by hand. I was actually in waders up to my waist in water planting that one. This is another shot from another angle. This is prior and this is after. This is the after shot that comes up here is around about a year and a half afterwards. So it's quite amazing, particularly in wetland areas, how quick it restores itself because the access of water is quite plentiful and the plants grow faster and quicker. But we're also maintaining this. Now this is a really cool shot. This is actually a blowout in a creek in the Lockyer Valley from the 2011 floods. The water was 20 meters above that. And this is us reprofiling that batter so that it doesn't erode, and then planting around 5,500 plants just on this slope alone to restore it. You can see the rips in the banks here from the floods. All of this was underwater by 20 meters during the flood. And then we've had to come in and rebatter it and reprofile it to help divert the water better, and it stops further erosion. And same thing as another 7,000 plants in this aspect on this slope here alone. This is a floodplain that was also inundated by water, and you can see here in the next shot we've created these mounded beds and planted a particular plant called Melaleuca urbiana, which is quite rare, to help with mitigation and more ecosystem development here. In this shot, this is at Mount Cotton. We planted another 30,000 trees here to connect existing natural area to the land around it, creating a corridor which we maintained for over 2 years. Now, we get a lot of illegal dumped rubbish in our natural areas, which is such a shame. People dump their rubbish. But this is afterwards, so we go in and remove all the rubbish, tons and tons and tons of waste over the years. So you can clearly see in this photograph that we've removed all of the exotic grasses and vegetation that's not native, and what remains is the only native vegetation to the site. We've had to go back in and revegetate this. There's about 30,000 trees there, and they're planted at half-meter centres with shrubs, ground covers and trees. And they're planted in a way that they create a buffer to the residential area that's next door. And we're also using that to mitigate any invasive plants that can come back by using a diverse range of native species that are also semi-rainforest and endemic to the region. And by incorporating some endemic rainforest plants in this planting as a buffer around this area, we're not only reducing the risk of invasive exotic plants from returning, having an impact on the biodiversity of the native vegetation in this area, we're also using these endemic rainforest plants as potential fire retardant vegetation. So if there is a wildfire that comes through, by the time it gets near these residential areas, the vegetation won't burn so fast or readily or as quickly because of the types of plants put back there to mitigate. So in some way, we're actually also helping the environment, but we're also mitigating potential, social issues that we face today with natural areas and the built environment and living closely within these areas with global change and the risk of wildfires now is quite high. This type of work can help mitigate that. So we feel really proud of these types of projects in the past, and we were a part of it as LandTrust Rangers. Okay, everyone. So this next video is of me and my LandTrust Ranger outfit on a very difficult terrain. It's an Bandon Quarry west of Brisbane. We had this site for quite a few years, but as you can imagine, being an Bandon Quarry, it's full of rocks. Every step you take, it's very dangerous. You could trip, slip or fall or break a leg or ankle because it's just vegetation covering rocks. But in between all that, there's also some native vegetation too amongst all these declared pest type vegetation that's been declared by the local council. So my role is to go in there and selectively remove it all by hand as quick as possible. And so you see me using this different type of equipment and going through and managing this very difficult terrain. I must say it was a challenge, not an easy job, this one, but when you do something like this in your time and you can see the work afterwards, it's so rewarding. And I love the fact that I did this in the past. It's completely different to what I do now, but I hope you enjoy this next clip. So I'm at the gap and I'm standing on top of the ridge, and you can see that I started way down there, up around the back, and I've come up and through and around and done all the fronts back to the main tree line. I've come up on top of this ridge here and I've cut back to Lakina. This tree here is a Tipawan tipu. It's also an invasive tree, but you can kind of see the panorama here. And then over the rocks, I've come all the way down through and all the way along the main road down to the front there. And so in this next video clip you're about to see, I'm with a colleague of mine named Peter, and we're on a hovercraft far west of Brisbane on the lake. When we originally got to this lake, You couldn't see it as far as the eye could see on the horizon. It goes for acres and acres, this lake, but it was totally covered in an aquatic weed called water hyacinth. This water hyacinth had choked the top of the lake so bad that it was killing all the aquatic life and fish life in the lake, and making the water so bad it was unfit for human and animal consumption. So we worked with local authorities to introduce a really small, little tiny weevil. This weevil's amazing because in the right conditions, where it's 28 degrees for at least 2 or 3 weeks in a row, can reproduce itself over 100 times. These beautiful little weevils are very busy when that temperature's right, and they clearly ate all of this hyacinths on top of this lake over the 3.5-year period we worked on this project. So this is our last visit. It's a great result for LandTrust Rangers, turning this aquatic system back to its original habitat without really any major physical manipulation of the waterway and without using any chemicals. So it's a real positive plus for the ecosystem in the long run. We're going out with one more little bag of hyacinth that contains a breeding population of weevils. We're going to leave them on the far end of this lake to make sure that when the hyacinth tries to reproduce itself again in the summer, the little weevils will be already there waiting to do their bit and to maintain this aquatic system in pristine condition. So here we are, we finally found some after all that. It's way in the far corner of the lagoon. So now I'm just going to collect the hyacinth actually and bag it up and then take it to a council depot, and then they will give me water hyacinth weed with weevils in it, and then I bring them back to put in the lake, and then the weevils will then eat all the hyacinth on the lake and to get it to the level that it is today. 3 years ago, none of this water could be visually seen. It's pretty remarkable what the weevils can do. So in this next video clip, I'm in an area in the Lockyer Valley. This area was completely flooded in the 2011 floods by at least 20 to 30 meters. So when you see this area that I'm working in, can you imagine that there's 20 to 30 meters of water covering this entire area? The project is working with local authorities to come back in and plant out some of the embankments and waterways where lots of vegetation was torn out and washed away. There's also a lot of areas that lost a lot of soil and batters on the embankments. So the intention here is to go back in and plant vegetation that over time will help maintain the embankments and stop soil and sediment loss and any scouring or erosion happening in the waterways. It's a really big job. We had it for quite a few years in maintaining it, and you'll see me now in action talking about it on the job and walking you through it. It's a great little project that we worked on as LandTrust Rangers. But underneath all this grass, there's about 2,700 plants all the way along, going down towards past those plants down there to the level of that gum tree, but down the back it drops down. There's 2 batters. There's a low batter to the creek and then a higher bank level, and these have all been planted. There's an irrigation system that runs across the top as well with high risers. You can just see one here. Right now you can see this one in the grass here. So I'm basically just going to come through and brush cut. My limit is also that tree line there, and I'm going to try and make this all nice again and just get some of this grass and that down so the young trees can get up. So this will be a fun one. Just when I thought my day was getting easier, it just got a lot harder. But luckily, I'm used to it. The joys of being a LandTrust Ranger. I've come through now and I've basically cleared the line for the irrigation, and I've also come in and cut in between the grass in some spots just to show them the number of trees in here. You can see the casuarina here, cunninghamii, some Melaleuca viminalis, the local bottle brush tree, and this is all through this grass all the way through, so it's quite good. The grass is protecting them, but it's also holding the bank together, so it's a but once these trees now, I mean, they're going to double in size. They'll be as big as these ones that you can see there in end of next year, which is incredible. So it's quite a big job. I'll just quickly show you. Just here, Eucalyptus tereticornis, that one there. So it's quite great. These sprinklers really helped. It's quite arid, and the farmer was obligated to put these in and keep water to the trees. It's quite a big system, as you can see. But once again, there's some more. And it goes all the way down. Again, come through and cut in between. It's quite a big job. Irrigation's also on this side, which I've also cut here as well. And they're definitely hanging in there. It's sometimes 45 degrees out here in the summer, and they're amazing plants to be able to even just survive. So it's just so nice to see them starting to come up, you know, like there. And yeah, it's fabulous. So that's it. Another day. LandTrust Rangers. Thanks so much for watching my video and my past being a LandTrust Ranger. It certainly was an amazing time in my life over those 20 years working with family and hard-working staff to plant nearly 8.5 million trees. It sounds impressive, doesn't it? But it isn't really when you think of our world today and our current climate change that's happening around us. Please know, if you ever did come and have a reading with me, that some of that money would be set aside towards 8billiontrees.com projects and OneTreePlanter.org projects around the world in reforestation, revegetation, and preserving natural areas to try and make this world a better place. Don't hesitate to friend me on social media via Facebook and Instagram. I'd really love that. And if you want to check out more of my videos on my spirit drawings, my evidential psychic mediumship, then don't hesitate to click on the links below. I look forward to seeing you again soon.